It's Thursday, July 1. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. 65,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine are now available to Jamaicans awaiting their second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. The new doses were donated by Mexico. No vaccination blitz was held last week. The installment of vaccines will go a long way, calming fears that the recommended time in between first and second doses would have elapsed, thereby compromising the vaccination process. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton was on hand at the Norman Manley International Airport where the vaccines arrived. He says by Monday between 25,000 and 30,000 Jamaicans will be able to say they are fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
The gift signifies for us the friendship, which you mentioned earlier, between both countries. But from a public health perspective, it signifies the importance of global collaboration in the fight against this global pandemic. We fall or we rise together. And I think the bigger message around this gift today is that if we do not collaborate, we are not going to overcome what is a threat to mankind, no matter where you are in this world. And I think your gift today is a recognition that the government and people of Mexico recognizes that.
On behalf of the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, he asked that the message be conveyed to President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. His warmest and most sincere appreciation for this gift of 65,000 AstraZeneca vaccines.
The National Water Commission, NWC, says its customers owe the entity $1 billion. It says 4,507 cases have been assigned to debt collectors, and so far only 590 of those cases have been closed. Officials of the utility company shared that information during a virtual public education forum titled The Impact of Water Theft on the NWC and You on Wednesday. The NWC says between January and April of this year, 21,777 accounts have been targeted for disconnection, with 17,862 being disconnected. According to the entity, 9,349 of that amount have since been reconnected after payments were made. It has so far collected only $500 million of the $1 billion owed. No local government election will be held this year. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the declaration while addressing the official opening ceremony for the Olympic Gardens Police Station in West Central Kingston on Wednesday. Simone Absalom Gale reports.
The Prime Minister notes speculation about whether the recrafting of the Disaster Risk Management Act measures was strategically done to facilitate the holding of local polls. However, he says this is not so.
There will be no local government elections held this year. Let me make it absolutely clear to everyone. And certainly, there will be no local government election held until I am satisfied that Jamaica is on the right trajectory for vaccination.
Prime Minister Holness further states that the government has been carefully analyzing and crafting measures that will not negatively affect livelihoods.
So all those who are looking for excuse to go on mobilization tours and break the DRMA regulations, because some of what I have seen, I am wondering how it is that the Disaster Risk Management Act, which is policed by ODPEM, is not enforced on those who would seek, under the guise of some false mobilization, to break the protocols.
Mr. Holness says the new measures were not established to only facilitate the entertainment sector.
The government has always made it clear that we have had to balance lives and livelihoods, and that we have to be sensitive and careful that the measures that we put in place don't become oppressive in themselves, such that people start to calculate their own risk and break the DRMA measures. That we have to not just look at one sector of the society, but at all sectors. And to be clear, yes, entertainment has suffered. They have suffered over a year. But so too has many other businesses, whether it is the people who are involved in the hairdressing and the parlors, and they are suffering. Whether it is the tailors, they are suffering. Whether it is the people who have their little shops and restaurants, they are suffering. Whether it is the farmers, they are suffering. The government knows and understands that the pandemic has had a terrible impact on the poor and on small businesses.
He says as more and more persons become vaccinated, the country should see a return to some semblance of normalcy. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Simone Absalom Gale.
Governor General Sir Patrick Allen received letters of credence from the High Commissioner Designate for the Federal Republic of Nigeria to Jamaica, Maureen Piribomini Tamono, at King's House on Tuesday, June 29. The High Commissioner spoke of her intention to strengthen the Nigeria-Jamaica long-standing bilateral and diplomatic relationship. The Governor General congratulated the new High Commissioner on her appointment and encouraged her to enjoy Jamaica during her time here. He said that the COVID-19 pandemic had affected the social activities of his office. Her Excellency said that the pandemic had also caused some lockdowns in Nigeria since last October, and that the country was 60 to 75% open to pre-pandemic conditions. The High Commissioner was accompanied by Mr. Emmanuel Oguntui. As we celebrate International Reggae Day, we remember late reggae crooner Dennis Brown. A prodigy, he would go on to enjoy a career that inspired many. Even reggae king Bob Marley marveled at Brown's talent. Dennis Brown was renowned for his unique vocals and prolific music production. Today, July 1, marks the 22nd anniversary of his death. Marlon Samuels opens the book on this extraordinary Jamaican.
Born in 1957, Dennis Emmanuel Brown grew up close to Orange Street, the heart of downtown Kingston. As a youngster, he spent many days at the studios of Jamaica's first television station, the Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation, or JBC, watching his father, Arthur Brown, who was an actor, rehearse and perform.
I think that was where some of my inspiration came from, you know, and I've always loved the business and enjoyed it, and it's just great.
Gifted with a great singing voice, he began performing before he was 10 years old.
I started singing at the age 9 first, but doing actual recordings was when I was 13.
Wow.
13 years of age. I was working for one of his producers at the time, it was Coxon, Downbeat Dad. We like going to a college or so, because I learned a few things while working with Downbeat, you know. It was a good experience.
He recorded his first song at age 11. At 13, he recorded his first album with the legendary Coxon Dodd at Studio One.
No man is an island. No man stands alone.
He penned and recorded more than 75 albums in his illustrious career.
Being a member of the 12 tribes of Israel and all that, I've learned how to relate to the Bible, like reading a chapter a day and so forth. And with that understanding, you know, and with the everyday life of living, I've learned how to put a song together, and like certain inspirations I might pick up off the street, you know, I try and put them in songs, which sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
I won't come down on you with lightning, brimstone, or fire, for in my heart there is all I require.
Like a song like Revolution. It was while reading a book on Malcolm X. Yes. You know, I wanted to learn some more about Malcolm X, and I came across this book, and it was while reading this book that I came up with the idea of writing the song Revolution, You know? Are you ready to stand up and fight the right revolution?
All right.
When you're called, few are chosen. So these things, I try and put them together, and they work.
Here I come with love and not hatred. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow I all the days of my life.
His songs, twinned with his soulful, distinctive voice, soon earned him the title the Crown Prince of Reggae.
If I'm to go on now, living this way, acting like a child, so young and gay. Well, you don't know what it means to me.
He signed an international deal with A&M Records in 1981.
Step aside now, another man wants to take over.
I try to be myself first and try and cope. You know, I don't try to lose my roots or anything and get too presumptuous.
On June 30, 1999, Dennis Brown was rushed to the University Hospital of the West Indies. He died on July 1, reportedly from complications due to a collapsed lung. He was 42 years old. His dreams of being a musical teacher were cut short. However, his legacy would outlive him, and today he's a source of inspiration for future generations of musicians.
We all need money still, but if you can live in love, peace and harmony, you know, and try to and educate each other, I think we'd have a better world or a better country.
For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
In today's business report, we take a look at Jamaica's poverty rate, plus the latest gas petrol prices and other market news. In 2019, Jamaica recorded its lowest poverty rate in a 12-year period, representing the second lowest rate for the island over a 32-year span. Minister of Finance and the Public Service Dr. Clarke, while pleased with the figure, says the coronavirus pandemic will likely impact the figures for 2020. Speaking Tuesday in Parliament, he provided an update on the pre-pandemic 2019 poverty rates. He also noted the importance of maintaining policies that favor job growth, economic expansion, and macroeconomic stability as the country recovers from the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Clarke noted that 7 consecutive years of economic growth across 2 administrations and over 100,000 jobs added to the workforce in 4 years contributed to the historic decline.
The poverty rate for 2019 was estimated at 11% compared to 12.6% in 2018, which is considered relatively stable. This was supported by a 0.8% increase in real national disposable income per capita, which was pushed by increases in real GDP, real remittance inflows, and increases of employment.
Jamaica has been measuring the rate of poverty since 1989. The highest rates of poverty since then have been in 1992 and 1993 at 44.6% and 33.9% respectively. The lowest rate of poverty achieved has been 9.9% in 2007. Poverty increased thereafter due to the severe impact of the global financial crisis and climbed to 24.6% by 2013. Jamaica has been hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic, seeing a 10% contraction in GDP and the loss of approximately 130,000 jobs. Dr. Clarke says the 2020 data is being calculated in an effort to fine-tune policy.
The Planning Institute of Jamaica will be working hard towards having the 2020 poverty data available before the end of this calendar year, breaking this 2-year lag that we have in reporting on poverty. And it's going to be important to have that data because while we have a policy response, having the granular data will allow us to calibrate and fine-tune policy to make sure our response is effective.
Poverty rates are calculated by the Planning Institute of Jamaica based on consumption expenditure data collected through the Jamaica Survey of Living Conditions conducted annually by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, STATIN. The survey captures data on the living conditions of the Jamaican population. Dr. Clarke also noted a significant reduction in poverty in Kingston compared to rural areas, which he called much less strong, and outlined measures being undertaken to combat this. The finance minister says as the country seeks to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, policies that favor economic expansion and job growth must be pursued.
And this is one of the reasons why for the Serve Jamaica program we've incorporated a rural focus through the Train the River program to be executed by the NWA, as well as other initiatives in the portfolio, in the social safety net portfolio that straddles many ministries across the government.
For his part, opposition point man on finance Julian Robinson called the decline a good thing and said the opposition is awaiting the release of 2020 rates. He also reiterated his call for more to be done for the most vulnerable.
Given the challenges that we have had over the last year, the difficulties, particularly for women, single-headed households, and for those who operate in our informal sector, which constitutes a significant part of our overall economy. And while we await the data to fine-tune our policy, there are a significant number of persons, in spite of the care program that would have been implemented, who have not received any assistance, and even with that assistance, it has not been sufficient.
Motorists can expect to pay more at the pumps for gasoline and diesel effective Thursday, July 1. According to the latest ex-refinery costs from state-owned oil refinery Petrojam, 87 and 90 octane gasoline will be sold for $152.61 and $158.78 per liter respectively, up by $2.06 and $3.06. Following an increase of $1.12, automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $143.64 per liter. Ultra-low sulfur diesel is up by $1.38 and will be sold for $152.40 per liter. Meanwhile, kerosene saw a price increase of 76 cents and will be sold for $120.85 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum will be sold for $63.95 per liter, up by $2.21, and butane liquid petroleum will be sold for $70.94 per liter, following an increase of $3.06. Be on the lookout for price changes as marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markup to these prices. In Wednesday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 5,874 points to close at over 427,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 96 stocks, of which 52 advanced, 31 declined, and 13 traded firm. The Junior Market Index advanced by 32 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, Access Financial Services Limited, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited. Stocks declined for CAC 2000 Limited, Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited, and Caribbean Cream Limited. Trading firm were 1834 Investments Limited, Epley Limited 8.75% preference shares, and Everything Fresh Limited. Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial was the volume leader with over 4.1 million units, followed by Mailpack Group Limited with over 2.4 million units, and Wigton Wind Farm Limited Ordinary Shares with over 1.3 million units. In foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, June 30, the US dollar sold for an average $148.51. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $122.72. The pound sterling traded for $207.01, and the euro sold for an average $178.47. In market data for oil, prices rose 2% on Thursday, supported by the prospect of strengthening demand, lower U.S. inventories, and a Reuters report that OPEC Plus producers have planned to increase output in the coming months. Brent crude gained $1.38 to $76 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude rose $1.49 to settle at $74.69 a barrel. We now go to regional news. Fisherfolk and farmers will be allowed to engage in their trade with the new restrictive measures implemented under the current COVID-19 lockdowns in St. Kitts. Andre Huey provides more details in this report.
Fisherfolks and farmers will be allowed to engage in their trade under the new restrictive measures implemented under the current COVID-19 lockdowns in St. Kitts. Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris made the disclosure during his national address on June 25th.
We make a special exception for farmers and fishers to tend their flock and to go fishing, to keep our food supply going during the days of limited operation.
This certainly was a change from last year when the lockdowns were first implemented. Farmers and fisherfolks were initially not included under those measures, and adjustments were made to accommodate them. But even then, they were given limited time, which many farmers found did not meet their expectations. Prime Minister Harris announced a complete 24-hour lockdown from 6 p.m. Sunday, June 27th to 5 a.m. Thursday, June 1st. Thursday and Friday are limited days of operation of essential businesses from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and a return to full lockdown from 6 p.m. Friday, July 2nd to Thursday, July 8th. These measures have been taken to preserve social and physical distancing and minimizing the risk of transmission of the coronavirus. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
Intensive care unit and high dependency unit cases continue to be high even as the Ministry of Health in Trinidad and Tobago is noticing a general decline in the number of persons requiring hospitalizations for COVID-19. Speaking at the ministry's virtual media conference on Wednesday, the country's principal medical officer said there is a high number of critically ill COVID-19 patients. Mahalia Joseph Wharton has more.
There has been a noticeable decline in the number of patients requiring medical attention for COVID-19 by the Ministry of Health. Principal Medical Officer Dr. Miriam Abdul-Richards is still advising citizens to take the necessary precautions to protect themselves.
In summary, we are seeing a general decline in the overall hospital occupancy as well as the ward occupancy from June 1st onwards. However, the ICU and the HDU occupancies continue to be high, which indicates that we continue to see very ill patients at the HDU and ICU.
As she gave an update on the capacity in the parallel healthcare system, Dr. Abdul-Richard said the intensive care unit levels where most ill patients go is at 90%, while 98% of the ICU beds in Trinidad are filled.
In the HDU, or high dependency unit, in where our next or the critically ill patients are also placed, the high dependency unit capacity is currently at 59%. The ward level patients at present, the overall capacity is at 48%. So at this point in time, half of our ward beds in Trinidad and Tobago are filled.
In Trinidad, the ward capacity is at 52%, while in Tobago it's at 21%. Dr. Abdul-Richards said the overall occupancy level in the parallel healthcare system is at 51%, noting that Trinidad and Tobago's occupancy is at 54%. She said this has represented a general decline. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TTT News.
In the Bahamas, Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar has revealed that the government will take steps to secure the property that provides access to Cabbage Beach if the matter about access is not resolved. He said officials have sought legal advice. Berthany McDermott has the details.
If the owners of the property leading to Cabbage Beach refuse to provide public access to the beach, then government will have to exercise its right to eminent domain and secure the property, according to Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar.
So now the government has to act assertively. I mean, if they refuse to do anything, the only option then left to the government is to exercise its right of eminent domain and to secure that property.
Earlier this month, Cabbage Beach vendors met the Paradise Island beach entrance locked and their items outside when they returned to work. This prompted the disgruntled group to forcefully open the gate. At the time, de Aguilar said he was blindsided by the move. Officials are now seeking advice of the Attorney General's office on the matter.
They are digesting the fact that the vendors and Bahamians in general want an access to that beach, and I am being led to believe that they're going back to contemplate how to embrace and incorporate that request into their project.
The property is owned by Access Industry, and according to the Aguilar, plans are in the works to develop a condo hotel. He also took a jab at the former Christie administration, insisting the matter should have been addressed when the deal was made.
What I find really troubling, however, is that when that property was sold from Atlantis to Access, that the government of the day, the PLP, didn't deal with that matter then. That would have been the ideal time to say, okay, as a condition of the sale, create an access point for the public. Because unfortunately, the court has ruled that is private property.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
In sports, we opened the innings with cricket. West Indies women scored a 10-run victory over Pakistan in the opening 2020 international of the three-match series in Antigua on Wednesday. Player of the match was Windies bowler Shamilia Connell, whose opening spell claimed 3 wickets for 21 runs from 4 overs. In the end, Pakistan fell short in pursuit of a tricky 137 at the Sir Vivian Richards Cricket Stadium. Over now to athletics. World 400-meter champion Salwa Eid Nasser of Bahrain was banned for 2 years for doping on Wednesday in a ruling by the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Sport's top court upheld an appeal by World Athletics against a ruling by the federation's own disciplinary tribunal, which had cleared Nigerian-born Nasser of missing doping tests. The ruling means she will be unable to take part in the Tokyo Olympics. Nasser, 23, stunned the athletics world when she powered to the third fastest 400 meters in history to take the world title in Doha in 2019. Tropical storm Elsa formed over the tropical Atlantic on Thursday morning and is expected to cause heavy rains that may lead to isolated flash flooding and mudslides in the Caribbean. Elsa is the earliest fifth named storm on record, beating out last year's Eduardo, which formed on July 6. According to the National Hurricane Center, Elsa had maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour with higher gusts and was 865 miles east-southeast of the Windward Islands. Tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 105 miles from the center. It was moving west at 25 miles per hour. An even faster motion to the west-northwest is expected over the next 24 to 36 hours. The storm is expected to pass near or over portions of the Windward Islands, while the southern Leeward Islands on Friday move into the eastern Caribbean Sea late Friday and Friday night and move near the southern coast of Hispaniola on Saturday. Elsa is forecast to produce rainfall totals of 3 to 6 inches, with maximum totals of 8 inches on Friday across the Windward and southern Leeward Islands, including Barbados. This rain may produce isolated flash flooding and mudslides. Tropical storm warnings have been issued for Barbados, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. A tropical storm watch is also in effect for Guadeloupe. And that's our package for today. Join us tomorrow, same time and place, for more news right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.